Hi everyone, taking a look today at the NameLessRC N47 HD. This is the one that comes with the little baby turtle with the Whoop board. And this is quite an inexpensive Toothpick style HD quad. This is about $140 or $145 with the receiver. And I've got the FR-Sky receiver, but they have quite a few different protocols you can choose from here. And the only thing that's as cheap as this is the Ishin Twig HD, which depending on the time you're looking at this might even be cheaper, but that's a slightly larger quad than this. It runs 1105 motors and can run 3-inch props, but this is more of a traditional Toothpick with 65mm props. It is about 6 or 7 grams heavier than the ideal Toothpick, but it still flies pretty well, I think, especially on 2S. Plenty of power for fun, and the HD from the Baby Turtle looks really good, just straight out of the box with the stock settings. Quite happy with how that looks, and it's a nice bright FPV feed with the field of view. It's a little bit narrower than I'm used to, but still quite flyable. So these motors are unbranded 1103 8000 kV motors, but I think these have been used in the past on full speed RC kits, and I think NameLessRC might even be the same company, or they're related in some way to full speed RC. So you've got those motors, and then this is the NameLessRC 12 amp F4 board. This is the older style with the vertical connectors, and I think that's one of the ways they were able to keep the price down on this, was using this kind of board and these older motors. That's why it's so cheap, but everything seems to work pretty well. And there's the Caddx Baby Turtle board. The SD card slot is where is it? It's over on this side. So there's the SD card slot, and it's very easy to access the start stop button, although it does start recording automatically, and it does save it when you disconnect power. And here's the big tall weird canopy. Kind of heavy, it's about 5 grams, but I like how they're making use of the space. They've got the VTX is up in there, which nice, keeps it separated from everything, and good antenna placement here. And also it could help maybe in turtling. It's like having a big fin on the top of the model, so might help you when you want to flip it back over again. But if you were to use a canopy like this, you'd save about 3 grams in the overall weight if you're very concerned about it. But I don't mind it. I don't mind it being a little bit heavy. I like this design. I think it has a lot of character. And also you might be able to see here, they've actually got little brass press nuts in the 3D printed canopy, which the screws are going up into, so that provides some strength and stability, and it shows they put some thought into it. So I like it, and I think the 3D print is pretty good quality. I did have some jello in the flight, but it mostly I think just came from these inexpensive motors being a little bit rough in some spots, and it's possible that the kit that you get might have slightly smoother motors than mine, but it did have a little bit of vibration, which I put down to these cheaper motors. But again, that's them keeping the cost down on this. If you wanted to get something with slightly nicer components, you could go up to like the GEP-RC Skip, which I think is about $180, so an extra $30 in this, and then over $200 you can get like the Beta FPV HX115. But if you're looking for something that's very inexpensive in a Toothpick sort of class with HD, I think this is about your only bet. And now there are a few things to look out for if you do have this kit. One of them is that even though I did get the FR-Sky version, the channel mapping in Betaflight was wrong. It was AETR, and I usually run TAER on X-Lite, so you might need to plug it into Betaflight to adjust those things. And speaking of which, you might see here the USB plug might be kind of hard for you to reach. I actually have this quite thin cable which goes in no problem, but you can see here it just goes in by that screw, and the cable that I usually use doesn't actually fit in here. And this is probably, I think most people will probably run into an issue like this, where the cable doesn't quite go in all the way because of this screw, so you might get kind of stuck. You might have to actually modify your plug to make it go in there. That'd be the only way, because there's no way you'd want to take that screw out every time you plugged it in. So be aware of that. Could be a slight issue for some there, the fit of the USB cable. Also, it should be noted that they are running props reversed, so keep that in mind. If you're changing the props, make sure that they're turning into the center and not to the front. Another thing to note, I did have to take the canopy off to bind it, because there's just really no easy way to reach the binding button on the receiver in there, so you will have to probably take the canopy off to bind it. And another thing about this VTX, this is the NameLessRC 400 milliwatt VTX. It comes locked at 25 out of the box, so you do need to unlock it, which you do by entering pit mode 3 times, and they explain how to do that in the instructions. Now this did come with Betaflight 404 and some kind of a custom tune, which did fly pretty well on this 2S, but I think I'll probably put 4.1 on it before too long. And overall, I think I like this model. It flies well. I think the weight's pretty good. It's close enough to a ideal Toothpick weight to still be fun, and the HD from the Caddx, the Baby Turtle, I think looks really good on the stock sightings. You don't have to change anything, and I think they did a pretty good job on this. If they did make the motors a little bit nicer and change to a newer flight controller, it would also raise the price, and it would no longer be the inexpensive thing that it is, and I think that gives it an appeal. So that's a quick look at the NameLessRC N47, and I'll show you just a quick edit of some of the HD footage I got from one of the first few flights, just to show you how the baby turtle looks and how it does have pretty good performance on this 2S. People might be tempted to fly it on 3S, and you can try it, but I think it's probably happiest on some kind of 30 gram or less 2S battery. But anyway, that's my quick look at the N47 HD. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next one. Bye-bye.